territory. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, the 10th wave of Operation True Promise. 4 began with the illumination of Khyber missiles, opening massive gates of fire toward the occupied territories. A targeted attack on the government complex of the Zionist regime in Tel Aviv, attacks on military and security centers in Haifa, and an attack on East Jerusalem were among the objectives of the 10th wave. Previously, we had warned about the expansion of attacks on bases and the occupied territories of the aggressive enemy, and had already announced this. The sound of sirens in Israel will never stop. Now we advise the residents of the occupied territories to stay away from the vicinity of military bases, security centers, and government facilities, and to immediately leave the occupied territories. The occupied territories that Netanyahu's government has forced you to live in have now become places of death and destruction.
The USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier of the U.S. military was attacked with 4 cruise missiles. U.S. bases in the region were attacked repeatedly, resulting in the deaths and injuries of 560 U.S. soldiers so far. The U.S. naval base at Al Salem in Kuwait was completely out of action. The U.S. naval base at Salman Port in Bahrain was hit by 4 drones.
Yeah, Brian, about 10 minutes ago, an early alert went out for Iranian ballistic missile launches. This has been happening throughout the morning, and these were likely launched from western Iran, now towards central Israel. Sirens are sounding across the entire part of the... Just stay with me. I'm going to have my cameraman pan here to the highway here. Under the bridge there, you're going to see under this bridge, civilians are taking shelter amid this incoming fire. These sirens are the last alert that civilians can get to head to bomb shelters, but when they're on the road or they're out, they have to take any hard cover possible. The Iranians have been firing all sorts of missiles at this country throughout the day and night, but we know the Israelis and the U.S. Air Force are going after these launching positions.
And a Fox News alert: the Middle East on fire as deadly fighting escalates across the region. Iran launching attacks in all directions, hitting cities in Israel and multiple states along the Gulf. As Israeli and U.S. forces continue to pound Iranian targets around the clock. So welcome to a brand new hour of America's Newsroom. I'm Dana Perino.
Morning to you. Here we go. A lot of headlines already. I'm Bill Hemmer. Good morning at home. A U.S. State Department urging American citizens in 14 countries across the Middle East to leave immediately, and calling for Americans on the eastern coast of Saudi Arabia near Bahrain to take shelter now.
So this comes after Iranian attack drones hit the U.S. Embassy in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Fortunately, the compound had been evacuated and there were no injuries. Meanwhile, Israel's prime minister is defending the strikes on Iran, calling it a gateway to long-term peace.
95% of all the problems you see in the Middle East are generated by Iran. And the worldwide terror network that they built is generated and orchestrated from Iran. So when you take away Iran, when you let the people of Iran have the opportunity to act, to liberate themselves, free themselves from the yoke of this terror machine, you get a different future. I think that will open up the way for many peace treaties with other Arab countries, with Muslim countries. I think it changes the world. This is not an endless war. This is, in fact, something that will usher in an era of peace that we haven't even dreamed of.
Iran's counter strategy is simple. They know militarily they are no match for the America-Israel combined.
Correct.
And some NATO countries could also join in.
Correct.
You know, Britain has refused and the others have refused, but they could also join in. So Iran knows that it cannot win. But the Iranian strategy can be summed up in that Urdu phrase, "Hum to doobenge sanam, tumko bhi le doobenge." We'll go down, but we'll take you down with us. So what was the Iranian strategy? Iran has 3,000 missiles. About half of them are medium-range ballistic missiles like Fateh 1, Fateh 300, Khurram Shahr,
Correct.
Shahbab, etc., Idlis. These are the medium-range missiles, 1,500 to 2,500 kilometers range. And they have almost about 2,000 of them. Then they have short-range ballistic missiles.
They've also probably
American bases.
got some underwater tunnels to
They
strike
have
US
underwater
warships.
tunnels to block the Gulf of Hormuz entrance, 21 miles wide mouth of the Gulf of Hormuz. They've got coastal batteries, right? So the Iranian strategy was that the moment you hit us, we will not do a proportionate response like last time.
We'll also go all guns.
We will go all out. We will hit Israel with medium-range ballistic missiles, hypersonic ballistic missiles, hypersonic cruise missiles. Now please bear in mind that in Ukraine, American Patriots, American THAADs have not been able to stop the hypersonic cruise missiles which can change direction.
Yeah.
They are not a ballistic trajectory which the computers can predict and knock out. Right? The Orshenik is one example. The Kinzhal, the Iskander, all of them are hypersonic. They have not been able to stop these. So the fact of the matter is that even in last June, a number of Iranian missiles had gotten through and done pretty severe damage, which quite obviously the American media controls the global media and the media narrative. So they were saying nothing happened, but the fact of the matter is about 50 billion worth of damage was done to Israel by the Iranian missile arsenal.
So this is going to go very, 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 very long. And that is why I believe this is already phase 1 of World War III. Read my lips. This is phase 1 of World War III. China and Russia cannot afford to look away.
Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kakadash, double honor to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone. Salute to Akim, pushing his words in sincerity and truth to your brother Yassad. Back at you with another lesson, will not edify in Jesus' spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Yeah, and this one, as we always remain in the spirit of what? Of prophecy. As the precept spoken of in Revelation 19 and 10, and I fell at his feet to worship him. Well, this is John here, when the messenger, the angel, came unto him, he fell down to worship. And he said unto me, see thou do it not. So the angel said, don't worship me. I am thy fellow servant, and of thy brethren that have the testimony of Yahweh Shai Mashiach. Worship Yahweh. For the that's what he telling he already straight away, worship Yahweh Ba'ashem Shai is not to worship I am your fellow brethren, Let's say for the testimony. The word testimony goes into basically like proof, evidence, proof or demonstration of some fact, evidence, piece of evidence, declaration or sworn statement of a witness. Right? So it says, for the proof, the evidence of Yahweh Shai Mashiach is the spirit of prophecy. Right? And we'll get that word prophecy in the Blue Letter Bible here, because it is important to be in the spirit of prophecy. You'll be able to, that is the measuring stick. As it's in 2nd Ezra, the 9th chapter, measured all the time diligently in itself. So we enter the interlinear in the Blue Letter Bible here into the word prophecy.
Strong's G 4394. Prophetia.
A discourse emanating from divine inspiration. That divine inspiration is what? From Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai through the angels. Right? And declaring the purposes of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, whether by reproving and admonishing the wicked, or comforting the afflicted, or revealing things, and this is the point, revealing things hidden by foretelling future events. And this is with our prophecy going into the strong prediction, prophesying, and that's it. Because these prophecies pursuant to the first Peter 1 and 19:20, it wasn't, of a man's thought or opinion, but holy men moved by the Holy Spirit, right? So as we see these things happening, as being mentioned here, the strategy at Iran, the guy just mentioned, that is basically more or less like the starting they already stepped into World War III there, because we know, and where does it go back to? The least of the flock join them out of Israel. That is basically why they in the defense of Israel and whatnot. That will lead Trump to sending in the fire and igniting that war, igniting that flame. But what is basically standing out is what? The Joel. Because Iran is not a nation that you could just go up and you pick. You just pluck out the president and you get rid of the president, just as Venezuela, and they already defeated, they all surrendered. No. You see, they have been prepping for this 30 plus years. And that is why we see this prophecy coming to pass. The book of Joel, chapter 2, and verses like Joel 3, verses 9, it says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. So that is what is happening. That's why, it is basically the Lord through the angels stirred up Trump. Just as how the spirit, the left-hand spirit was sent unto Ahab's diviners and prophets and whatnot, to deceive him. So Trump is being led, right? The book of Proverbs 21 and 1, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. So the Lord now is causing Trump to make these moves. The Lord has that spirit on Netanyahu, and controlling everything that everything, as the scripture say, and I'll bring it up to the Lord of the hosts will muster that battle. Let's say he turneth it whithersoever he will. Right? So every action being made by the kings of the earth, the prime ministers and whatnot, they in our governing counterpart, is being directed by the Lord. The back down Proverbs 24 and 20. 20:24. Yeah, Proverbs 20:24. Man's going of the Lord. How can a man then understand his own way? So all the moves Trump is seeing, that cruel Lord, which we believe is the cruel Lord, according to the Isaiah 19 chapter, right? With the moves he's making and whatnot, The Lord is putting that spirit upon him. Proverbs 16 and 9. Let's say a man's heart devises his ways. So he might have his plan and whatnot, but what the Most High, what Yahweh Hashem directed his step. You know, and Apostle, it was Shawamba did a really upper video on basically what was being placed in Trump's mind from since even his youth. You know, it was basically the Lord was setting him in that direction from since youth growing up. You know, until now. That's to show you the power of Yahweh Hashem El Shai. As he said under Pharaoh, you know, he who hardened in Pharaoh's heart. Right? And it's all to, hey, as I just mentioned, bring forth this. This what we see here. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war, wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. You understand? It's a beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hook into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. And this is what we see. You know, a nation that, you know, Iran, you know, they mightn't, you know, be as a great superpower as China and Russia. But hey, these nations, they ain't going out without a fight. You know, and there is the vibration, you know. That's the vibration that you're seeing coming on. That's happening is it's prophecy, basically speaking. You know, as the scripture said, the weak say, you know, they are strong. Right? That's what's happening. They ain't gonna be taken to bully for too long from Babylon. Right? And that in itself is basically I'll use the word a omen, a marker, you know, for Babylon's defeat. Right? For Babylon's defeat. If they leave in to be backed up in a corner that you're begging your allies to send troops and send aid and whatnot. You know what that shows you. You know? Yeah, what that shows you. Yeah, according to the Isaiah, you know, Isaiah 14, I think. Though, right, Isaiah 14 and right, and this is 9. No, it's at 9. It's a hell from me need to move for thee to meet thee at thy coming. It stirred up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. So, hey, the spirit of them empires that ruled back then, you know, hey, as we know, Persia, Iran is ancient Persia, you know, within the Bible, which we knew of the wars of the joint empire, the Persian Empire, and the Persian and the Medes Empire that took down the Babylonian Empire, the ancient Babylonian Empire, you know. So hey, the Lord rising back up that spirit of war from old, from the ancient times, you know, and placing back that spirit upon them. Yeah, so hey, we ain't about to see Iran just giving up just so. You know, it's all they that speak and say unto thee. And this is the point here. As art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Yeah, and that is it, you know. For America to be being under heavy blows, you know, they in distress. It shows you that, you know, hey, they have become weak. You know, and say thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy voice, the worm is spread under thee, and the worm cover thee, because a worm attacks from within. Right? And another way the strategy would be working is through they using $20,000 drones and whatnot, and they have America using the big $1 million equipment, you know, deceptors, deflectors, and whatnot against these $20,000 June. You know, it's gonna hit them economically, where they're gonna run out of money to fund the wars. You know, well, yeah, I just wanted to bring that out to the spirit. You know, as we keep being as watchmen, you know, being occupied in prophecy, the book of Sirach 39 and 1. So until the next all praise say Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, WNC elders and the apostles of Great Millstone. Till the next Shalom.